Welcome to another episode of the Zooch and Wilde podcast. Zooch, how is your settings in the Salt Lake City airport?
I'm in the Salt Lake City airport. The Shake Shack here had no cheese, no ketchup. They had like basically nothing. But my other options were Panda, the
Oh, you should.
Pizzeria Limone, and that's pretty much it. I didn't want to keep walking because I wanted to get on the pod.
I think in a normal circumstance you would have gone Panda, but Panda before a flight to New York seems like such an inconvenience. You did the very noble thing of not subjecting everyone to Panda Express, post Panda Express on an
Post
airplane.
Panda Express and like overnight, which you could just wake up in the middle of the night and like
Oh my
it
gosh,
could be
yeah.
bad.
Yeah, nothing fuels a day quite like orange chicken. You know what else is bad, Zooch? We're gonna get into some of the games later, but we'd be doing a disservice to everyone, college football fans included, if we didn't address, uh, as my thing says, uh, what I like to call, and I like this headline, the Michigan Manifesto, and Michigan's filming of the sideline. For those of you who haven't heard, Michigan had a staffer. Obviously, if you listen to this podcast, you've heard about Michigan had a staffer, a low-paid staffer, and that staffer was filming other opponents' signals in person and running this kind of like weird ring. And honestly, it's bad. I think Michigan's in the wrong here. The more I read into it, though, it's so funny. The fact that he had a 600-page manifesto detailing how he was going to take over the Michigan program. I honestly respect his fandom at some level.
Well,
Like, he is a
that's
true
my thing
freak.
is I haven't really listened to much what coaches have had to say about it. But I just find it hard to believe that other coaches aren't doing the same. You're kind of an idiot
I
if you're not doing
So
that at a certain point.
Deion Sanders and Matt Rule, I think they got asked about it, and they both immediately went like, "Oh, I don't care. Like that doesn't bother me." I think that's a telltale sign of, yeah, there's more than just Michigan that's doing this, and I don't want to open up Pandora's
Well,
box, so to speak.
I'm sure like probably lower level G5 schools aren't doing it, but I just don't understand like why you wouldn't. Like I used to always kind of wonder why you'll see like it's normal. Number one, it's also always the worst head coaches who have the tarp that's like 65 feet wide that's being held above them. But I don't know why.
It's
Like if you like, it's not. This didn't just come out like all of a sudden everyone found out about it last week. Like allegedly, people have heard about it for a while, and I don't know. I just don't think it's like it's a bad look. They look stupid because they were like Venmoing the guy money for the
oh,
games,
it's
like
they're like
on their.
Venmoing
That's the
him.
stupid part about it.
I think the stupid funny part is though that this guy's like ex-Navy and he's essentially using like military tactics at Michigan. I think is funny. Another part that I think is completely awesome, just like from looking outside in, is yes, Michigan. I think it's in the wrong, of course. Like you can't like film people's like signals. Like if you want to find out people's signals, it's kind of like the same mindset I have with like stealing like pitchers' pitches. Like if you're on second base and you find out that like one
Yeah,
two means curveball, I'm in all of favor with that second baseman going like, "Hey, it's a curveball." But then it's like the Astros. It's like when you get the camera, when it becomes like almost like an automated machine, like robotic process. I think that crosses a line.
yeah, that's fair. It's just like I said, I haven't read too much into it because I saw it and I just thought, oh, like I've always thought, like, what if somebody, like in my head, like not always, but ever since it's become the new fad, right? That instead of the quarterback going to the sidelines or huddling up each play, everyone looks to the sideline, and you have the poster boards that have,
I
Shake
think everyone
Shack,
should just do Jonathan Smith
SpongeBob.
and just do the Jonathan Smith and just do
Well,
the milk and the clock.
it could also all be taken away if the NCAA would just allow quarterbacks like the NFL to have this the headset in their helmets.
That would be true.
Just do it, and
No,
then
because
I mean,
there's some people like Kirk Ferentz or like whatever the coaches at Air Force said that would be like, oh, stadium doesn't like if that was the case, Iowa would be like, oh, our headsets aren't working on Ohio State week. Sorry, looks like both teams can't use it. Like
Right.
that's
And then too, my thing with it is like Ohio State and Penn State are the biggest ones, and Michigan State a little bit up in arms about it. Ohio State, you had a coach covering up an assistant coach beating the shit out of his wife
hmm
for forever. Penn State, we all know what you did
that's what I was gonna
with your
get to.
thing.
Like,
You had
and
Jerry Sandusky prowling legitimately. That's not even like a word. I'm like he was a prowler to children for like 25 years in
but you
your
guys are going
program.
to Rose
So
Bowl, so you covered it up.
sit this one out. Sit out if you had a rapist on a child molester on your team for 25 years. Sit out the guy filming signals. It's not two peas in a
Totally
pod.
agree. Totally agree. This is like the Big Ten East should just be like the Spider-Man meme of just like you guys are like morally wrong. Like you guys are the worst. You guys are the worst. The rest of the country, that's what I was gonna get to with like the looking at this objectively. Everyone else in the country looks at Michigan and Penn State and Ohio State like the biggest bunch of freaking dipshits that have ever walked the planet. They are so self-righteous. It feels like I feel like the Big Ten more than any conference. And I like a lot of teams in the Big Ten. I like a lot of coaches in the Big Ten. They produce good players. They have good teams. But the Big Ten is it is like the arrogance of like the Pac-12 pre this whole collapse with like the kind of like that mean-spirited like craziness of the SEC. So it's like you're an elitist, like passive aggressive, like d-bag, but you're also like a conniving, cunning, like will kill someone to win a game. And I feel like it's just the worst combo that exists in the Big Ten. And
And that's
you
my
see it
thing
with the
is that,
situations like you just mentioned.
yeah, they act all high and mighty. I mean, like, and it's like I love college football, but it's a dirty, not even a lot of the times the stuff isn't even dirty. Like I don't really at the end of the day, like we make fun of uh Jeremy Pruitt for giving Tennessee players money in the McDonald's bag. That's really like if you sit down and think about it, you're like, that's not that there's a lot worse stuff that's happened and Penn State and Ohio State are on the end of far worse stuff that's happened than somebody
hmm
like you said, it went probably a little bit too far if you're straight up filming it. But Michigan was stupid in the fact that they made it so like all the stuff so public. Like the guy was getting Venmo
hmm
transactions from Michigan State assistant coaches, like stuff like that. I'm just like, if you're gonna cheat better.
Yeah,
That's
it's
my whole thing. Is like just do better. Like it's very in today's world. To me, it's almost easier. Like you're always gonna have like it's always gonna get out a little bit, right? Like if you and I were playing for Florida State right now, and NIL wasn't a thing, and Mike Norvell somehow maneuvered things around to where we were each getting $100,000. Our close friends would probably know a little bit about that, and then
yeah, and
they would
even
go
if
out
they didn't
drinking, and
know, yeah, even if they didn't know, they would go, "Hey, Diego, how are you like covering like how why are you always the guy who's going like, "Hey, I got your drink," or it's like, "Huh, Diego, like when did you replace the car? Like I like you can't work a job."
right.
But yeah, I totally agree. I think like this is not something that should go unpunished. I think it'll probably, from being realistic, it's probably going to be some sort of scholarships taken away, maybe a fine. Maybe if Jim Harbaugh knew about it, I bet he gets suspended because he already had the incident. I bet he'll get
Yeah,
like suspended some games. It'll probably be next year, but he might be gone at that point, so it might not
yeah.
matter. But I don't think for the people calling for like wins to be vacated, I think that's probably where I draw the line in a step too far. But yeah, fine, scholarships taken away, sanctions like that. I think is a fair punishment for the crime.
And if they do have scholarships taken away, pull a Bobby Bowden and beat the system by having guys come to your school that play football but are track scholarship athletes.
Yep.
They still have to run
Boom.
track, but you as a that's what makes
That's
guys
what
like Bobby
what
Bowden so
that's
good.
what that's what Butch didn't Butch Davis do that at Miami
Yeah,
too when he took over, because he used the Bobby Bowden strategy, because that's when Miami almost got the death penalty in the late 90s. So Butch Davis was like, "We're gonna get some track guys." Wasn't Santana Moss on a track scholarship?
Yeah, there was quite a few because they could only have a limited amount. And he's like, well, these guys can't afford basically to come to a private school and play football. Their families don't have that type of money. Most people don't have that type of money without taking out a gargantuan amount of loans. So he's like, we'll put you on a track scholarship, and they still had to run track. Like Santana Moss,
Hmm.
if I remember correctly, was like winning the ACC or something like that in the 100-meter dash or
Yeah,
something.
big
He
time
was
players
doing
make big
something
time
good.
plays in big time games. All time quote from
Exactly.
Santana Moss. Well, big time players making big time plays in big time games is not something this next team's doing. I think you know where I'm going with this, Zooch. We're going to jump into last week's games, do a little recap. Are we really surprised that James Franklin lost again?
No, it's there was that is one of those games that year
Are we
after
really
year, like
surprised?
they try to hype it up, and I understand the hyping up like Alabama, Auburn, or Georgia, Florida, because it seems like every once in a while, you know, the underdog in that game wins or it's competitive. I truly don't remember in my mind the last time I saw Penn State, and I know James Franklin's like 1-7 or whatever it is now versus Ohio State. I have no recollection of that win whatsoever.
Ohio State, can't seem to get over that hump with Ohio State. Like that's the hump that they can't get over.
Right.
I mean, Drew Aller. I remember I was texting people. I'm like, is this Drew Aller? Like the last I saw of Drew Aller was like in the early weeks, and he's tearing teams up. Kind of forget about Penn State a little bit. Drew Aller. It's like they didn't trust him to throw the football. I think there's. I remember they said on like the TV, like Gus Johnson. It's like he hasn't thrown. It seems like he didn't throw a pass past 10 yards.
Right.
Like
He
that's
didn't.
what it seemed to me. And it's like James Franklin was like he wasn't trusting his young quarterback to beat, in my opinion, a superiorly talented team. Penn State can say all they want. They're a very talented team. Ohio State has more talent than you. You got to be able to take some chances and win on some, let's say, 50-50 plays. You
Yeah.
got to
And
have your QB Drew Aller. He had to let it rip, and he did it.
right. And it's like James Franklin, he's been there close to a decade now, right? He's had a long tenure there because their
Hmm.
coach before him was Bill
Bill
O'Brien.
O'Brien, and he
And
did a good job.
he did a
He
good job.
I don't think Bill O'Brien. I'll go off on a tangent. As much as we joke about Penn State, like I hate Penn State. Everyone knows I hate Penn State. That Penn State could have very well easily become Nebraska
Yep.
after the whole incident. I think Bill O'Brien should get more credit than he does, in my
He
opinion.
should. And James Franklin came into a pretty good. It's not like James Franklin came in after they couldn't go to a bowl game for the 2 years. And, you know, I mean, if I was 17 years old and Penn State was recruiting me when all that stuff started
Oh,
happening,
oh
I would
no.
be like, I don't, that is that's
And you didn't have some sort of connection to Penn State? Like if you were
right.
outside the state of Pennsylvania, I totally agree. It's like, why would I even want to touch that?
No, I don't want to touch that. It just, the whole thing stinks. And James Franklin has come in and it's just like, I know people are saying he should be on the hot seat and stuff. And that one I kind of agree on because
Really?
at what point, like, it's not that he never wins those games, it's he does the same thing over and over and over.
What I think Penn State's looking for is that I don't think there's a team in the country besides maybe I don't think there's a team in the country besides maybe like the second place Pac-12 team that always seems to have like 2 or 3 losses that is going to benefit more than Penn State at having a 12-team playoff. Like I think
Yeah.
that's the one thing that Penn State's waiting on because they're waiting on James Franklin because he can win every game it seems like, but Michigan and Ohio State. I think Penn State's just kind of hoping that he wins one of those games, and then maybe you can beat an Oklahoma or you can beat a Washington or beat an LSU, and then you're in the semifinals without ever having to beat Michigan or Ohio State. I honestly think like that's what Penn State's waiting on. But if he can't do that, I'm with you. If he can't get to the playoffs and win a playoff game with the 12-team format, it's a scary thing to think about because it's the classic: do you keep with something good or do you get rid of it but it might be something great or something average.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I mean, in your mind, do you think they're going to beat Michigan?
Ah, no. No,
That's
I
what I'm
don't.
saying. It's
I
like
I,
every
I think it's
year,
going
like
to be a little bit. I think it's going to look better than the Ohio State game because I think James Franklin is a good enough coach where he can rally some troops to get him to play with a little more fire. So I don't think it's going to be quite as bad of a game as this one. But no, I don't think they beat Michigan.
yeah, I mean, and that game went last week. I think I said on here last week it's going to be like 14-6 with 8 minutes left, and then Ohio State's going to get a long drive because the Penn State defense has played 35 minutes at that point and go up
Hmm.
21-6. Penn State ended up scoring and trying the onside kick, but
Yeah.
that game was never really like I don't even remember if Ohio State trailed. I don't think they did.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they did. And if they did, it never seemed like they didn't have control. That was
Yeah,
the constant in that game was control. Yeah, that's about it I have on that game. UT Bama, is Bama for real?
I told Sean he can, or actually I told Cody, but I told you just felt, and maybe you didn't feel the same way. I just felt in that game when Tennessee started out strong and couldn't score in the red zone. I just had that gut feeling like it's going to come back to bite them in the ass. They're
No,
not going to
it did
score
them.
here and add points. And Alabama's not going to get killed. The only time I remember them getting killed recently under Saban was that Clemson national title game. Like every
Hmm.
other time they've lost, they
They
had a
play
chance
close.
to win a game. And then Tennessee I don't even think Tennessee scored in the second half, did they?
I don't. I don't think they did. Not when I was watching. I left a little early. I had a concert in the city. Shout out all my Dead Mouse fans out there. Saw some Dead Mouse this weekend. It was great for first time ever seeing him. But no, I don't think he did. But you know what this Bama team reminds me of? It reminds me of a little bit of old school Saban, kind of like the early McElroy days. Or I know we've joked about this guy a lot, but the Blake Sims year. Maybe they're not the national champion, but man, they're going to beat 99% of the teams on their schedule.
They're, I mean, now that they've gotten over Tennessee, only LSU they might be an underdog again. But other than that, they
I
have
with with the way LSD.
Auburn. They'll be a favorite over them. They
Yeah.
have whatever crappy like Sun Belt or FCS team they played the week before Auburn, whoever like Wofford or
So
whoever that'll end up being.
Samford. It's always like
Yeah,
Samford, never the Citadel. No team ever will schedule the Citadel because the Citadel, obviously they're a military college, but the Citadel implies guerrilla war tactics on the football field. It seems like where if you can't beat me, I'm taking as many of you down before I go
right.
down. So it's just like cut blocks for 90 minutes.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, yeah, UT Bama. I thought Jalen Milrow looked better in this game. I thought he looked like this the old school Bama. It was old school Bama. It's not.
Yep.
We have gotten used to Bama. They've had the lineage of quarterbacks. Hurts to Tua to Mac Jones to Bryce Young, and we forget Nick Saban won 3 national championships and was making national championships. 4 national championships he won with 3 guys who didn't end up playing in the NFL and one guy who was a backup. So
Right.
like this is it almost it felt this was the first game where it was like I got like that Ratatouille like flashback moment when like Igor eats the Ratatouille and he sees his younger self. Watching this was like, man, I'm watching Greg McElroy. I'm watching AJ McCarron, and they're only scoring 28 points a game, and they're beating the hell out of teams.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, since that Texas game, they haven't particularly come close to losing. Like they led Old Miss for the.
They had the USF game, but that's because
Yeah, that's
Tyler
true.
Buckner, Tyler Pick Six Buckner, as we call him.
Was the starter, and it was like
Yeah.
pouring rain in that game too, if I
Yeah.
remember. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean they dominated Tennessee in the second half, dominated Ole Miss in the second half. The Arkansas game it wasn't as close as the score.
Poor
Looked.
Sam Pittman. He's so fired.
Yeah,
He's so poor Sam Pittman.
he's done.
He's so fired. Oh man. Oh man. We gotta feel bad. Sam Pittman, if you are listening to this, man, my heart goes out to you, man. Have a cold beer, man. But you, it's I just feel bad. I felt like he had something going with Arkansas, and it just pooped the bed
It has gone downhill rather quickly.
for the Razorbacks. You know what else has gone downhill is the USC Trojans, man. Oh boy. First, I want to give like a shout out to Utah. They shocked me. I'll admit when I'm wrong. I did not think Utah was going to win this game. I thought this was going to be a complete rebound game for the Trojans. And this was the classic USC game. This was the soft ass team getting beat by the tough team. Like
Yep.
the USC offense, it looked good, scoring points. They scored over 30. In the defense, they pooped the bed
You-
again.
They asked the defense one time, boys, one time, limit them to not getting a field goal right here, and they couldn't.
I
I mean,
think
we've
this
talked about
solidifies.
it enough, but I just don't
Alex Grinch has
understand.
to go.
I don't understand what is up with him in that defense. It's not. It's just horrible.
This is a move that I think Lincoln Riley has to make. I think if he makes it in the offseason too, I think a lot of USC alumni and donors and people around that program get off his back, and he can at least buy one more year, I think, of good grace.
Yep.
Because then he could be like, oh man, like the defense has been bad. We're finally going to get a new defense now. Because this defense has the players. It's not like they like this defense, unlike the years, I'm sorry, at Oklahoma, where some of the guys they had weren't the best. Like this defense is all transfers. The freshmen, they have 5-star freshman middle linebacker. Like they have SEC guys, they have Big 12 guys. They got the guy from Oklahoma State, the starting linebacker, is playing for him now. They just look soft. And then the offense, they can only do so much. Like they're asking the offense to bail them out of scenarios that the offense can't bail them out in. Like this is the game I bet like USC's defense is like, oh man, I like if only you would have scored 42 points. Like they would have won. Like you can't be expected to score 40 points every single game. Like
No.
you just can't.
And you're not going to score that many against Utah 9 times out of 10. Like the offense played great considering how good Utah's defense has been basically all year long. So I mean, if he wants to save his job, and he's another one that I think might be NFL bound along with Jim Harbaugh, but
Oh man, I think if Lincoln Riley goes NFL, I think that confirms what a lot of people have thought. And I know Oklahoma fans would just go crazy. Why don't you pipe down, Sooners? That's what I'll say. Also, don't you think? I think it's a little weird when you like. I like hating on like stuff. I'm a professional player. I hate on myself. As a professional hater myself, I get hating on stuff. But the obsession that Oklahoma fans have for Lincoln Riley, I think it's like a tad unhealthy. I think rooting for him to fail is cool, but man, you guys gotta like tone it down a little bit, Sooner
you're
Nation.
undefeated at number 5.
Yeah,
They have 2 losses. Who cares? Like, I mean, I understand being like, oh yeah, like this guy left us for a program that's probably a little bit, at least right now, under us in terms of success recently, for better or worse. But at this point, I'd be like, we're undefeated. We're probably going to end up in the Big 12 championship with a shot to play in the playoff. USC's not winning the Pac-12. USC's not going to the playoff. USC is probably going to that. What's the bowl game in the Sun Bowl?
oh no, the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl.
That's probably where USC is headed.
Oh no, that
They
means they're
might throw
gonna
them in the
play.
Alamo Bowl.
I don't know. I
Ooh,
mean, because the Alamo
that
Bowl
would
is
be a
usually
good.
like the third or fourth team, though. So
But do you think if
Washington's the top, and then Oregon's probably going to a New Year's Six, and then you got Utah, which might go to either Alamo or Holiday, and then you got UCLA, USC. It'll probably be UCLA or USC with either going to the Holiday Bowl or Sun Bowl or Alamo Bowl.
do you think if Oklahoma were to lose like once or twice, like say they lose a game before the Big 12 title and lose again, they try to make that Alamo Bowl USC Oklahoma?
It depends on I think it depends on a lot of stuff because like what if you got a 1-win Ole Miss team that like they or like a 2-loss Ole Miss team that they could leave out, or they have an ACC team that they can leave out. Like there's going to be a lot of those middling
Yeah.
teams that could make a New Year's Six but won't. But the last thing on this game is I just want. Do you think Caleb Williams should sit out the rest of the year?
Yes.
Really? So
From a
so you're
personal
with Hacha? Okay.
from a personal standpoint, I think it 20 years ago it was one thing to me to sit out. But now with the amount of money you make in the NFL, yeah, I understand the odds are low that he takes a shot and blows out his knee and his draft stock plummets, but they're not zero. And if I don't know, I just look at it from a personal point of view. And if we weren't going to really be, I mean, yeah, they could still win the Pac-12, I guess. They still have a little bit to play for. But if it was to me playing for something like we talked about, like probably Max Alamo Bowl, and something happens and you get hurt and you're like, well, I was trying to play in the Alamo Bowl and you miss out on, I mean, I don't think he would drop too far because of the hype around him. But you're still going to have, owners and stuff not wanting to give you as much money as you could have gotten if you do have some free, and
Yeah.
that's what it would be as a freak injury. But
Part of me, yeah. Part of me sees where you're coming from. I think I look at this from two ways on this. Is that sitting out does kind of hammer in the nail on a pattern of behavior and that you've shown to kind of be like, oh, are you a little soft? Are you a little immature? Are you a little bit of a prima donna? And that will hammer it in. That's the con. Like that'll hammer it in for a ton of people. The pro is someone's still going to take you, whether you
right,
go one overall or not. You're going in the top 10. Why jeopardize that? Then on the flip side, I think if he does end up sitting out, you better be good in the NFL. Because if
yeah,
you sit out and don't do good, then it's a double whammy. Like you are the worst. And then that's what I think will actually get like really bad hate, like no longer like funny hate. It'll be like really bad. But if he sits out, wins rookie of the year next year in the NFL, everyone's going to forget this.
right. And it's weird now because people are doing the like, there's creeping in a little bit of this like, oh, he's hasn't won anything in college other than Joe Burrow right now.
Quarter,
Like Patrick Mahomes
Mahomes,
never won anything.
Allen.
Allen never won anything. I guess Trevor Lawrence did, and Jalen Hurts got like some of the guys did.
Yeah,
But it's
but
like
Jalen
half and
Hurts is
half.
kind of comparable with Caleb Williams. Like they didn't win the national championship; they won a lot of games.
Right.
Like, speaking of winning a lot of games, just gonna quickly touch off on this because if we could enter the Ric Flair and Mr. Perfect meme right here, we hate to say we told you so, but we told you so. UNC losing again. Are we surprised,
No.
or is this the classic midseason UNC loss?
Classic UNC midseason lost, and they'll be 9-3 and
Yeah.
have a lot of hype next year. And
The Belk Bowl. Here comes the Belk Bowl.
start like 6-0 and lose to someone random again, like Wake Forest. Or
They'll have
whoever
another
it
good
is.
true freshman quarterback. It's like, man,
Yep.
this guy's going to be real good in 3 years.
It's
Oh
the
my
classic UNC story.
All right, and just quickly touching on, there were some iffy games and close calls. Just obviously the for our West Coast fans, probably the majority of you are. There was the not holding call in the Arizona State Washington game. My favorite tweet from that moment was last year at the Pac-12, they ain't had a team in the playoff in like 8 years. Them refs knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, that was a very bad note. That one.
What do you
know
think's
how you don't
worse,
call
that one, or the Iowa fair catch?
That one. I think the Iowa fair catch. I could see a scenario where you think he's kind of calling for a fair catch. Or not that it was a great call, but I understand. He had his hand high enough to where it looked like it could be waving off. It could be a fair catch. They're both not good calls, but the PI one was blatant pass interference.
Yeah, I totally agree. But as a West Coast sports fan, sucks to suck. If Washington makes the playoffs, no one's going to remember that. And Arizona State, you're on a bowl ban anyway. So,
right.
Let's get into the next week games. I'm excited, man. We're Pac-12 football. It's been so awesome to talk about it all year. This is where game day is going this week. Also, I haven't been watching game day as much. Been more on the Fox Big 12 wave or the Fox Big Noon wave. If I'm being honest with you, I've been watching way more Fox Big Noon with our boy Herb. Shout out our boy Herb.
Or I do think that I think, and like, I don't dislike like Pat McAfee's podcast or
Me
anything like
neither. I
that,
like Pat McAfee's podcast.
but he can be a little bit.
It's a little bit much on game day.
He's a little bit
I
much
hate
on
saying
game
that
day.
because I do like his podcast, but it's like it's a little much on game day.
Yeah, just like a little bit too. Like I think he's trying to force it a little bit too much. Like, and that's just not what you know. Like I like Desmond Howard. I think Kirk Herbstreit's a homer, but I like him on college. I like
Oh, I
David.
think
Like
Desmond
that to me
Howard
is
is
what.
the total homer. I think Desmond Howard's
Oh, they
home
both are
city.
homers,
He's Homer
but
Simpson.
they like he always like he's like always happy and stuff like that. Like has a good time with the fans. I think with McAfee is just like it's very like flamboyant and loud 24/7. And sometimes
You know
it's
what?
like
Yeah.
you just want to hear like listen to them talk about the game. Like you're just getting ready for you don't need like a hype person, I guess.
The thing with McAfee too is that I really like McAfee. Like I said, I listen to his podcast. I think it's great on his podcast. One of the best sports podcasts in the game right now. He at times it seems like it's the same energy when like Shannon Sharp talks basketball,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Like you can honestly tell like Shannon Sharp likes basketball and he loves LeBron, but it's like, man, you're not watching every game. Like I know you're
Right.
not watching every basketball game. I don't know if Pat McAfee's watching every college football game. I know there's a lot of people who watch game day, like myself and you, and a lot of people in this country that are watching or following college football games all days on Saturdays.
Right.
Like that's what we do. And it just seems like sometimes he comes off as not doing that. I don't know if he does. Also, it's his first year. Maybe he'll get better.
Yeah.
But what is going to be good is this game, Oregon, Utah. This is going to be, you remember that game where it was like the daytime and Oregon got like a last second touchdown on them? Like that guy caught it in the end zone?
Yeah.
I got this gut feeling it's going to be like that again. I got this gut feeling that Oregon's going to win late again. Bo Nix avenges his ranked loss to Washington and beats a very good Utah team. I'm staking my claim on it. Bo Nix.
And I mean, it's a playoff eliminator. Like I don't know that Utah would get in anyways, but Oregon's still very much alive. I'm actually in Salt Lake right now. I have not seen any. It's only Wednesday though, so I feel like most people would get in tomorrow night if they're going to the game or Friday maybe. But I'm not seeing a lot of Utah support at 11. What time is it? 10 p.m. Salt Lake City Airport.
Shame on you, Salt Lake. Well, I guess they all have to be in bed in Utah, right? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to any Utah listener. That was a cheap shot. I went to school in Idaho. You could take cheap shots at me. It's okay. That was a cheap shot to people in Utah.
I'm excited.
Shots are something that Utah people are not used to. So again, that was a cheap shot. That was a cheap shot. Sorry.
I'm looking forward to this one too. I'm leaning Oregon, though. In this one, I honestly think it might be more than one score, though. I think it's going to be. I think Oregon's going to win this one.
What's the spread?
Pretty handily.
What's the spread in that game?
I am not totally sure off my head.
Let me look it up, and once I find it, versus Utah spread. And I don't want to see if you think if you think Utah can cover. Utah. This is the Fox Sports. So this is via Fox Sports is the odds on this, and the Ducks are 6.5 point favorites.
I think
so you're saying the Ducks cover. Okay. Stake and Zach's claims. Sean, can we get a little Zooch's bet? You guys failed in your frozen parlay. So I don't know if this is just let's put stupid bets on settle down. Can we throw up? I mean, geez, you guys.
Yeah,
you guys throwing money
bets?
line on the.
Or you guys want to make a bet?
Well, Zooch has made a claim that he thinks he's got. Well, I don't know. I don't want Zooch to. We have to put our money where our mouth is. So
Yeah,
Zooch,
that's what we did. We
are
bet $10 on our hockey.
are you laying down the line that Oregon's going to cover?
I don't think so. I don't believe in
Fair
Oregon,
enough.
but I'm
Fair
also an
enough.
Oregon hater, so I'm very biased or not very unbiased
No,
in
no.
this opinion. So
Is it? It's it's going to
yeah,
be a
go
lot
ahead.
of this. Just is it's going to be a lot of people in Salt Lake just doing this in each other's face or that in each
Yeah,
other's face.
yeah,
Yep.
But all right, yeah. Once we
yeah,
get a bet that we feel confident on, we'll get it going. You guys can ride with us. But
yeah.
oh well.
No, I think once you guys have like a good like bet you guys are confident on or like a parlay, I think you guys should do the same thing. So I think it could be fun. But you do have to
Fair
put your
enough.
money where your mouth is though, if you guys are gonna do it.
Money
Even
where
if
our
it's $5.
mouths.
Something
I might
small.
doing this. I'll be in New York this weekend, so I think DraftKings and all that crap is
Oh yeah,
you're
they
allowed to
are.
do it there.
Yeah,
Yes,
you should.
yes. Stay tuned. You might be getting a Zooch and Wild parlay coming soon.
Yes.
Ride with
That would
us.
be fun. You guys should.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, the next one is not as fun. I named this the Wow. These teams are still ranked bowl, and it's Louisville versus Duke. On a scale of 1
The
to 10,
only
I think I care about this game like at a 6. If I'm being honest with you. I'm so
the
sorry.
only time I've watched Duke this year is that Notre Dame game. I've not seen Louisville take a snap. Truly, I've not
I've
watched them
seen
take a snap.
Louisville. The only time I've watched Louisville and Duke play is versus Notre Dame because I watched a little bit of the Louisville Notre Dame game. These teams, I guess we're gonna find out how good these teams actually are because I mean I know they laid a stinker, but I don't even know what to talk about in this game. I seriously don't. Like there's like what do you want me to say? I feel like this is just two teams that shouldn't be ranked. Like I feel like if what's an unranked team right now? Like Wisconsin. Like if Wisconsin was number 25 right now over Louisville, I would not bat a single eye. Like I wouldn't bat
No,
an eye. Like
no, and like
these
even that Duke game last week, I was watching Ole Miss, Auburn, and then after that ended, I put on I believe the USC game, and I was like, oh, Duke was winning. Let me check that score, and it was like 45-20 FSU. I have no clue I mean, it just seemed like FSU dominated them in the second half.
they
So
did. It was something like it was like a crazy amount of unanswered points. But
yeah,
sorry, Devils. I think that also unfortunately means for Duke. I think Mike Elko. You just gotta like. That's one of those things for Duke. It's like, man, if he gets a big time offer and he's okay with leaving, he's gonna leave because Duke can't match an offer from like an SEC school, unfortunately.
they will not.
They cannot. But the last thing I want to talk about for next week or this upcoming week of games, so there's a lot of trap games. Like I'm going to read you some of these games off each. We got BYU versus Texas. We have USC versus Cal. Now, before you laugh, that I think's a trap game, and it's at Cal. There is Air Force versus Colorado State, and Tennessee versus Kentucky, Colorado versus UCLA, and Ohio State versus Wisconsin. Those are a lot of ranked teams playing games that I think can easily go the other way. The ones that I'm especially looking for as trap games is Colorado State versus Air Force. I think Colorado State is a team that's better than their record says. They're 3-4, but I think they could easily be like 5-2 right now, if I'm being honest
Yeah.
with you. I'm just looking at so I'm gonna go over a couple of these. What do you think's the biggest trap game? BYU Texas, BYU Texas, Colorado State Air Force, Tennessee Kentucky, Colorado UCLA, or Ohio State Wisconsin.
Well, I'm going to say the Tennessee Kentucky one, and I would almost be willing to guarantee that Wisconsin Ohio State game is like 28-0 Ohio State at halftime.
Come on, jump around, Camp Randall.
It won't matter. They have. I think game day is there. I think game day is in.
I thought
Madison.
game day's at Utah. I thought it was at Utah.
Oh yeah. It's
Oregon.
Maybe it was one of the college football shows.
Maybe
in
Big
Madison.
Noon's there.
Maybe it's
Big Noon
them,
there.
and I just feel like it's going to be, Wisconsin's going to come out all hype, go 3-and-out. Ohio State will go like first down punt, and then another 3-and-out from Wisconsin, and then 28-0.
That's
That
funny.
just seems like that type of Big Ten.
I think the trap game might be Colorado UCLA, because UCLA is the team that could be trapped here. Because
That's fair,
UCLA is
yeah.
23 in the country. Colorado just got embarrassed. And Coach Prime, you know how you've been high on Coach Prime. This is a game that's really going to test Coach Prime. If Dion can
It is.
rally this team, because this isn't a sexy game, this isn't a game that a ton of eyes are going to be on. This is a game. It's like, man, you want to prove yourself? All right, beat the 23 ranked team. Come on, here we go.
Right. Get to 5-3. I think that they're 4-3 right now, right?
Yes,
So
they go to 5-3.
You can't. I mean, their over under I think was 4.5.
Yeah, 4. Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of the year. So good job in year one if you can
I feel
win
like
that.
this game would also almost guarantee a bowl eligible if they could win this game, because I feel like they have an easy game on the schedule. Like I think they got like Arizona left on the schedule, Washington State left on the schedule. Like they have some winnable games if they can just get this one in. They got some winnable games left on the schedule. But yeah, I think that's a trap game. Also, kind of funny trap game is North Carolina Georgia Tech. Could totally see Georgia Tech winning that. Just totally see Georgia Tech winning that. That's a game that's like 5 o'clock Eastern time, and it's gonna get like dark really early, and it's gonna be like 10,000 people in the stands. I think it's at Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
that just seems like a game where like Drake May could just throw a horrid, like gut churning interception at the end.
Yep. And then they have their second loss. They're probably not going to the ACC title, or actually with the ACC, they might still sneak in and like be ranked like 19th in the ACC championship.
It's always the ACC championship. It's always like 4 in the country versus 23 in the country.
Oh, excuse me. Tired from flying, but yes.
Well,
that one, it's a weird week of college football. I would say that.
I'm excited, and we are. So for the weekly segments this week, I'm done talking about the games. Weekly segments this week, we are only doing the meme matchup this week, halfly because Zach is at the airport, and also we are prepping for a little teaser. Next week is the playoff rankings reveal, and Zooch and I will also be revealing what our top 4 teams in the country should be, with the first 2 teams out, and how that compares to the CFB rankings to see if the committee got it right. Because as we know, we both know more than the college football people.
That Condoleezza Rice.
Yep. Oh yeah, Condoleezza Rice. Wasn't that funny how she was supposed to it was like Condoleezza Rice and like George Bush like called the ACC, was like, you need to like save our programs. Right. But yeah, let's get to the meme matchup of the week. Zooch, you want to go first? You got your meme matchup?
I knew it right off the bat. It's South Carolina versus Texas A&M.
Oh, that's a good one. That was I had a couple ones I was going to choose between. It was that. I saw UNLV at 6-1 playing Fresno State, who's like 6-1 or 5-2. I thought was funny that I almost chose, but yeah, that's going to be a good one. We got Beamer Ball. I don't know if Beamer Ball is doing too hot right now.
Neither is Jimbo. Beamer versus Jimbo.
Is this the immovable? Is this the immovable force? The immovable object meets the irresistible force.
I think so. Yeah.
Who do you think wins?
I'm going South Carolina. I think it'll be like South Carolina, like
this would be the bullet.
31.
This would be. I mean, Jimbo's already got like 3 bullets in his leg, one like 5 inches from his heart, and like 1 through his bicep. This one would be the one through the head if he lost to Shane Beamer. Oh my gosh, no, come on, you got to have more faith in the Aggies. I'm just kidding. Max Johnson looks like he should be playing football in 2006.
Yes, he does.
It's like the way he throws the ball, it's like he's got like the video of like, man, look at the fool who LeBron was catching touchdown passes from in high school. And it's that guy who's like holding the ball up like this.
It's the way they would hold. It's like, do you remember when the NFL draft would come on in like 2004 and they'd be playing like the Monday night count, like the old Monday Night Football music, that that's how he holds the football. He holds the football like Like, I don't even know. Like,
He holds the football like, you know who used to hold the football like that was freaking Alex Smith. I feel like he always kept it like right
yep.
here. Good quarterback, Alex Smith, Utah Ute legend, hopefully, and Niner legend. Shout out the Bay Area. But my meme matchup is a meme matchup for one reason and one reason only, and it is Texas State versus Troy. Now, the reason this is the meme matchup is that Texas State has a chance to win 6 games if they win this game, which would, if my stats are correct, would make them bowl eligible for I think the first time in their history. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe that's true. Yes.
That is why it's the new matchup. We have Texas State. I mean,
DJ Kenny.
I know nothing about Texas State, although the only thing I know about Texas State is that stat. Okay, I'm gonna make sure this is right because I would hate for this podcast to go live and then I'm the guy who gets my facts wrong because this is a facts podcast, of course. There you go. Texas State Bowls. Has Texas State ever made a bowl game? No. They are one of 3 FBS teams who have never made a bowl game. Okay, Zooch, I'm going to let you guess who are the other 2 teams. Give me a sec.
So it's got to be newer teams.
I'm going to look this up. Teams to never make a bowl. I think I already know one.
One's got to be UMass, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
UMass.
Okay. There's a couple. So there's 6.
Okay, some of them have to be like Jacksonville State has to be one because they're new.
Okay, so this is wrong because this is the article I'm reading is from 2016 because I saw Coastal Carolina on there. I was like, Coastal's made one. Oh my gosh, what the heck? Okay, yeah, so there's 3 teams. I think 4. Jackson State's one this year, you said?
Yeah, I think this is their first or second year. And so UMass has got to be one.
Texas State is one.
Texas
and
State.
The last one is it's right in front of you, but it's for a reason that you wouldn't think is kind of sad.
Who could that be? Is it like Louisiana Monroe?
No, it is. I'll give you a hint. They have been FCS in your lifetime.
FCS in my life. I'm trying to think of the newer teams. Is it? I know Liberty's made one. Is it James Madison?
It is James Madison, and it's sad because they should have made a bowl last year, but because of the NCAA rule prohibiting new FBS teams, it's such a stupid rule. And what I hate that rule, and I hate the rule that teams can't make the tournament for a couple years. Because remember that it was like Belmont or whatever. It was like Belmont.
Yeah.
Like there's that one team that always plays well, and like I hate when the team like there's a story every year of like a team winning their conference in basketball, and then like the second place team gets to go in. It's like
didn't that happen last year? Like the team who won lost the championship and the conference title.
Yeah,
made conference tournament.
Like, if I was playing that second place team, and obviously you'd probably be like a 1 seed at that point, I would take it in like personally, like I'm gonna beat the crap out of this team that doesn't deserve to be here. Like I'm gonna beat the crap out of this team. But yeah, Texas State. Let's hope they make a bowl. Knowing them, what bowl do you think Texas State would play in if they win 6 or 7 games?
Arnell Carriers.
No, I think they could go to like. Isn't there like is the Boca Raton Bowl like too big for them? Or do you think that's
maybe they'll get sent to the Bahamas Bowl that
Bahamas Bowl, that's
not
what
in the
I was
Bahamas.
Thinking. Where's the Bahamas Bowl this year?
It's not, I don't know, but it's not going to be in the Bahamas because they like have a dispute over the stadium.
I also love how in the Bahamas Bowl apparently like there was like a ton of like packages, but apparently if you bought like a $10 like general admission ticket, you could like walk onto the sideline because it was like a high school football game. You could like walk around the track. So like
the chain gang.
It was like a Reddit post or a tweet. It was like someone bought like they were detailing all of this. Like the security was just so lax and like chill. It was in the Bahamas. It was only like half capacity in a stadium that's only a couple thousand people. So there's only a few thousand people there, and it was literally like a high school game, is what they said. Like you just bought a ticket to get in, and you could literally like walk on the track around it and like walk like and watch from like the field end zone.
Yeah, these bowl games are wild now. Like, I mean, you watch some of them, and there's literally like maybe 3,000 people, and I even wonder at those like how
Oh,
many of those
I
tickets
got
were like given out.
I got a I got a good bowl for Texas State. St. Petersburg Bowl in the Rays Stadium.
There we go.
That's
There
yep,
we
that's
go.
the bowl. That's the bowl for them. Oh man. Well, that's awesome. Uh yeah, that's it for me. Just a reminder, I'll be in Boise, so we're gonna get some cool stories there, some good videos and pictures, hopefully. Zooch, hopefully get some good pictures and videos of New York and New Jersey while you're there. But
I
it's
have
gonna be
one mission. It's actually two. Find Frank the Tank. Second, find Fireman Ed at the Jets game on Sunday.
I don't know which one. Which one do you think's easier? I think finding Fireman Ed's easier because I think he's used to it. I think Frank would just be so intimidating. Cause like, what do you
He
do? You
would.
just go like, he's go like. I feel like if you saw Frank the Tank, you'd have to catch him when he's like walking to his seat, and then you could be like, "What's up,
Well,
Frank?" Like,
his parents are from Idaho, I believe. So there's an in. Like, oh, I'm here from
oh
Idaho.
wait, are you serious?
I've looked at his Instagram before, and he's been in like different random cities in Idaho.
Okay. There's your in. Are you okay? You have to ask like, "Hey, what are you doing in Idaho?" Oh my gosh, that's
I,
perfect. Frank the Tank. Maybe you can get him to wear some Boise State merch. Grow the brand.
I hope so.
It's Mets color. It's Mets colors. Just don't get
It's,
him going on about the Mets. Just
no,
keep it Devils only. The Devils are like the only team that brings him some sort of joy. It seems like.
exactly. And they blew like a
All
3-0 lead tonight. So,
right. Oh no. Oh, I'm
or
definitely
they
checking
were
Twitter right after.
maybe they were down 3-0 and then scored 4 straight, and then something happened where they like blew some type of lead.
Oh, that's
I don't
really,
know
really
exactly
funny.
what.
Well, that's good stuff. Zoot, you got anything else?
Nothing else. Just about to go catch this red eye, and hope I'm gonna go to the CNBC store over here and get some NyQuil or something like that, and knock myself out.
There we go. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next week. Take care.